Welcome to the SJ Child Show, where a little bit of knowledge can turn fear into understanding. Enjoy the show. Hi, and welcome to the SJ Child Show. Today, I'm really excited to be meeting with Amanda Kate, and hopefully that's how you pronounce everything correctly. No hidden, anything's in there. No, it's really nice to meet you, and I'm really excited to talk about what you do and your education and all of the good things, because I think that a lot of our what I was reading really resonated with me, and so I always love to reach out to people who I feel I have that same wavelength with. So thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's exciting to be here.
Yeah, and tell everybody a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, and of course tell everyone where you are at today in the world.
So I am in Melbourne, Australia. So it's 5 a.m. for me the day after, where I'm speaking to SJ, which is just always crazy, I think, when people are in different parts of the world and different days of the week. Yeah. I am a kinesiologist, which is a somatic therapy whereby we look at root causes of issues, knowing that everything in the body, any kind of dis-ease is caused by some type of stress. And so we look to diffuse that stress within the body and look at where it's being held, how it's being held, and I guess what's keeping it stuck. And then I am also an archetypal life coach, which is coaching in a slightly different way. It's using the archetypes, which is that pinnacle. If you think about the top of an arch, it's the pinnacle of human experience and behavior. Now, if we have all of our archetypes in alignment and in the light and we're expressing them beautifully, then we are enlightened. So clearly we all have a little way to go on that one. But it's a beautiful, gentle approach of really deeply looking at I guess our human existence and looking at our unique expression of that collective conscious and oneness into the world. I love the fact that I've blended the coaching with the kinesiology, because I know that coaching is often more of a mental game. Yes, you do shift some stuff out of the body, but with the kinesiology, it means that we can go really, really deep. If things aren't shifting with coaching, I can bring in kinesiology tools. And so it tends to work in a beautiful way whereby your auric field, if you book in for an appointment with me, knows what I know. And so it'll go, I want this bit and this bit and this bit, and we're going to put it together in this way. And I love that. And I'm always learning new things and new ways of being to be able to bring more into that toolkit. So I have also done total body modification, which is slightly more well-known in the States. It's another type of kinesiology. I've done 3 units of that, and I've done my Reiki Advanced, and keep adding to what I'm learning. So I've actually banned myself from new courses for this year because I'm always looking at new things and new ways of being able to help people. So that's most of what I do. And then it's, I guess, just ad hoc type work as well. So I'm also an author. I wrote a book called Divine Messy Human, a spiritual guide to prioritizing internal truth over external influence. And then I've got all the other roles as well of mother, partner, daughter, sister, friend, all of those bits going on too. So it's a busy time.
Absolutely. And it's amazing that you can embrace all of these parts of yourself and have all these roles when you have that clearness, or kind of when you have gotten to that pinnacle kind of the space in your mind and with yourself, with your relationships. So I love that you said that you have that all going on because you're practicing it, and it's coming into, it's showing up in your life that way. And it's so often that we don't understand the things that we are practicing are showing up in our lives. So if we want to shift things, sometimes we have to stop practicing those
Mm.
things that we're doing, right? What really, for those who might not understand what kinesiology is,
Mhm.
explain a little bit about the physiological part of what that means.
So, what we do is we use manual muscle testing. So, we use muscle tone and we use different arm and leg muscles. We can test abdominal muscles, back muscles, different muscles within the body to check on their tone. Which means that we're checking the electrical signal. So imagine that your nervous system is, the wiring of your house. With stress, with trauma, with general life, we get these little flickers in the system of things not working properly. And our body will give us these little flickers and give us these flickers and keep sending them to us. And then we get unwell. You speak to most people who have a cold, for example, and they go, oh, yeah, I was starting to get a bit run down. I was burning the candle at both ends. I was, working too hard, or I really needed a rest. And your body is giving you those signs to say, excuse me, hang on, can you look after me a bit better right now? I can't keep up, I can't cope. And then we get knocked down with a cold. It's very similar with most, not all, of course, other diseases and lack of wellness, lack of vitality, because our body innately knows what it needs to do to heal. And we ignore it because we've been taught through thousands of years of patriarchal rule, whereby it's ruled by fear, separation, comparison, all of those things that are damaging everybody at the moment. We've been taught to distrust the body, that the body is unsafe and unclean and to be, shoved to one side and ignored, and the mind is king and we need to think our way through life and we need to separate from that unholy uncleanliness of the body. But the body is where we get our direction for the world. It's where we get those internal knowings. It's where we get really in touch with ourselves, with Mother Nature, with all the world around us. And using kinesiology, we are looking for, I guess, the flickers in that system. We're looking at where the electrical system is not working congruently, because we are just electromagnetic beings. We are just a whole bunch of different electrical signals happening. And so if the signal holds strong, it shows that, well, you're not feeling stressed by that. That's not causing a disturbance in the force, so to speak.
Yeah.
And when it does show a disturbance, when that muscle cannot hold form, it shows that there is a stress holding there. So then we can use that, lack of muscle tone by, pressing on the muscle to then be able to find from our different charts which emotion is sitting there, when it got started, how it got stuck there, what were the circumstances around it. And usually, if I say to a person, what does this emotion mean to you? They'll make this link and they'll get some of this unconscious, subconscious information making sense in their conscious brain. And then they're like, oh my God, that's why I do this. And then we can use vibrational remedies of a lot of different types. I use a lot of sound energy because it is the highest vibration that we have. I also use a lot of color, light, crystalline energy, essential oils, which speaks, straight to the brain.
Hi. We'll be able to go to the store in about 30 minutes. Okay, go mark your alarm, please. Thank you. That's DJ. DJ has autism, children. And he comes in and needs what he needs sometimes. So
do you know what? Don't we all?
Yeah.
And I love that because, you look at the rise of how many children are with these sorts of things. And I think it's teaching us that we don't teach well. Yeah. We don't learn well, and we need to learn new ways of being. They're part of this whole breakdown of what we're going through at the moment in terms of patriarchal systems. Patriarchal schooling systems don't work.
Agreed.
And
we're gonna have to
so,
come back on a whole other topic, girl. No, I love that. Oh, and it's so great. I don't want you to not finish what you were saying, but I love to interject. And it's so exciting because I have a background. I'm not a kinesiologist, but I am a former massage therapist. And so Reiki, all of the wonderful energy works and such. And I worked for a chiropractor who was a kinesiologist who taught me so much. And just that understanding of how much truth the body tells and how honest we can look really at our health. And don't look in the mirror right now, Sarah, heavens, but things and really know what we should be doing. But it really is telling. And there's so many ways that people want to find these, fast ways to do this or fast ways to do that. But really, why don't we look for the truth and the honest ways that like our body tells us that things need to happen?
Because society and culture have told us that we don't know. And, even when you look at, what's happened in the last few years and how maligned natural therapies were, you can't go and, use herbs for healing. Yet the Bible states that there is a herb for every ailment in the body. That's why God created it. Now, I don't necessarily, I'm not a religious person at all, but I am very, very spiritual. I have a relationship with my God, with Mother Earth, with, in infinite wisdom, divine intelligence, whatever you want to call it. And I find that, where everything started to turn is where the goddess was taken away from us. We were originally worshipping the goddess. We worked with the cycles of the year. Women were the midwives and worked with women's health. And then we gradually put, God up in the clouds and separated him from us and had him rule through fear and, fire and brimstone and guilt and shame. And that's really where things started to change, because our God was taken from us and we had to go through intermediaries to get to him. One, the fact that he was gendered was a big issue, because it's I guess the goddess was gendered as well. But, it's the cycles of nature. It's that feminine energy versus, I guess, the masculine energy. But the way that the masculine energy has been portrayed is that wounded masculine energy. And when I talk about that, I am talking archetypally, of course, not gender-based or any of that stuff. And so, you're looking at this fear-based model that we're then placed into. And you think about the way that, sex and our natural instincts are taught about, and it's to be afraid of them. It's to not give in to them. It's, to be pious and good and clean of flesh and all of these things. But why would we have sexual urges if we, weren't supposed to? And this is the body speaking. Yeah. This is about what the body needs. And the body tells us all the time what we need, how we need it, how many times. And I'm obviously more and more in touch with this, the more of this work I do. How many times am I exhausted and I go, I haven't spent much time outside today. And I usually start my day with an hour and a half to 2 hours walking at the beach with my dog, regardless of the weather. But I can tell those days where I've had to skip it or I've been a bit busy and I have to get out later on. I can't do it. I'm not built to be in front of a computer in all these electromagnetic fields, with this ring light at my face and all the rest of it. I'm not built for that. None of us are. Yeah. And our modern life has been built in a way that almost belies our humanity. And when we start getting back in touch with that, you're right, there isn't a pill to fix it. I reset my gut the other year and it was hard. It was a 12-week, really strict diet. And I stuck to it to the T because I knew what benefit I would get after it. And I knew that no drug would give me that. Yet there are very few people who are really willing to go those hard yards. I had a woman who worked with me she's worked with me 3 or 4 times in the last 5 or 6 months. And she's going, oh, so am I fixed yet? And I'm going, you are talking about 60 years of stress. And you're wanting to sort this particular issue out. You've been working with how many doctors over how many years and they can't sort it out, and you expect me to do it in 3 or 4 hours? I said, I'm really sorry. We've got to reality check this. I said, you need to be coming every week or every couple of weeks just for a short period of time. Usually I don't work that intensely with people. For most people working on their emotional, spiritual, psychological health, unpacking old traumas, that kind of thing, we would work every usually 2 or 3 weeks. If they want to do intensive, we'll work out sort of monthly coaching where it's a weekly check-in. But, for this particular lady, she was literally expecting miracles. I had a woman come in to me, actually a young girl. She was 18 or 19, could not sit and do her university work. After the first session, we got her sitting 4 or 5 hours a day. And then she came in the next time, I'm not better yet. I said, you've been having weekly and sometimes 2 weekly physio for 3 years. You've had 1 session for me. We've managed to shift this stuff and you've got this improvement. And I think that's, again, the thing. We're programmed that there's a pill for everything. There's an app for everything. You don't need to do any work. Let this pill do the work for you.
Yeah.
And what we're doing then is we're disconnecting further from our natural instincts, from our body. And, they say it's the work. And yes, sometimes it feels like work. Sometimes it's exhausting. And sometimes you don't want to go there. And sometimes you're going into the depths and you're going, oh, do I really need to feel this? And yes, you do need to feel it to heal it. But it's also fun and magical and wondrous. And I have found peace and joy that I never knew could have existed before doing this work. And that is magical. Yeah. And so it's worth the tears that I've shed. It's worth the pain that I've felt. And also, I look at the life I've managed to create by doing this regularly. I've got a session with my mentor tonight. I actually had a session yesterday with a different healer who works in a completely different way. So and I had a session with my acupuncturist last Saturday. It was completely random that they all happened within 3 days. But I am constantly working with different people on my energy, on my spiritual health, on my connection, on all of that, on unpacking and repatterning old traumas so that they aren't any longer unresourceful behavior patterns. They become resources for me to use, and I can move from this reactionary mode into responding. I am responsive. I see what's coming. I'm able to have that little bit of space, and then I can respond appropriately rather than, not even that many years ago, something would trigger me and I'd be in that activation. I'd be reacting. I would shout and yell and do all those things that, you do sometimes when your kids annoy you because we're human. And no, that's not positive parenting. I get that. And also I'm human and messy and I have trauma patterns that inform my parenting.
Yeah.
I get all of that. But these days, my kids have come to me with some pretty big stuff in the last couple of years, and I'm shocked at the way I'm dealing with it.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I'd have absolutely, lost it. I'd have been in tears, or I'd have been angry, or I'd have had these big emotional displays. Whereas I'm like, okay, guys, what do you think we can do about this? You have this wisdom within you. I'm here to help you, but you have this wisdom and I trust that you know it. So what do you think we need to do right now?
Yeah,
and it's phenomenal watching them grow and change because I'm handing that trust back to them. What do you think we should do? Now, I can get you wherever we need to go. And, I can book you in with people. I can, give you some tools, whatever it is, but you need to lead this because you understand and you need to trust that innate wisdom that you've got within you. We're all born with it.
Definitely.
And It's a longer path.
Mhm. But I love that connection that you can make. I have that with, one of my daughters. My oldest is a stepdaughter, and like you said, I kind of learned my bad parenting, however you want to call it. Not even bad parent, just I parented from the place I was parented from, rather
Yeah.
than parenting in a new way,
Yeah.
which I am now able to do with two other children, which has been phenomenal. I just
Mhm.
absolutely love it. And it's so important because what you said about practicing and practicing. And there's so much that is said for that. And I've totally lost my train of thought, don't you hate that?
But I think when
I'll
you were
come back to
talking
that.
about parenting your stepchild to start with, you were parenting not just from what you knew, but also the trauma that was stored in your body and
Yes.
all of your reactionary patterns and everything that had informed you up until that date, until you chose to do something differently. As
Yep.
soon as we choose to start, looking at why we're being the way we are, what has informed that kind of behavior, and is that what I want to take going forward? I didn't know about any of this stuff. I had to have some pretty brave people stand up and go, your life isn't normal. What you are experiencing is not normal. And you think it's normal, which is pretty screwed up.
Thank
And
goodness they
that
said
was,
something. Yeah.
but it was
Yeah.
until I needed people to tell me that I was in an emotionally abusive marriage. It was emotionally and psychologically abusive every day, multiple times a day.
Sorry.
And I remember walking through the healing journey, and I'd often say, oh, at least I wasn't hit. And people would say to me, you were hit multiple times a day, just not with fists.
Mm.
And a lot of the scars that you're carrying are going to take a long time to go. And they do, because they're psychological. And your whole life becomes informed by all of these things you've been told about yourself that are dark and nasty and unforgivable and not womanly and, too much this or not enough this, or all of those things then inform your behaviors and the way that you interact with the world. So whether it is an overly critical ex-husband, whether it is overly critical parents, whether it, I've had people go, I had a great childhood. Yes, my parents were strict, but I had a great childhood. Yeah, that's great. But your little body as a child, basically what it stores as less than nurturing and nourishing is stored as trauma.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of research coming out about that at the moment. So, going back to some really basic stuff, controlled crying was the way to parent from the 1960s onwards. Now, you are basically telling your child your needs don't matter. And no, that's not actually what we're telling our children, but as egoic creatures, our child is learning that lesson, that my needs don't matter, that I can cry all I want and I will not get my needs met. And I am sitting here hungry. Oh, I've got a soiled nappy and I'm supposed to sit in my filth and be hungry, and that's just what I deserve. And then we wonder later why people have issues with food. Or, that's just obviously a brief example. It goes a lot deeper.
Yeah.
And none of us ever have ever gone in with an idea to harm. I truly believe. I don't believe, unless there are serious psychological issues,
Sure.
I don't believe anyone wakes up in the morning and says, you know what, I'm going to harm my child today. I'm going to abuse them today. But you know what? If what is less than nourishing and nurturing and loving to another human being is trauma, I am an abusive parent. I have been an abusive parent. Absolutely, 100%. And I have to own that.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to my children about it. I've said, anytime you want to come and walk through this in a therapeutic session or whatever with me, or talk to me about it, I'm open, because I know I've created trauma in your life.
Yeah.
And I want to repair it as best we can so that you can move forward without it weighing you down, without it informing unresourceful behaviors. That's what I want for you.
Yeah. I remembered in the middle of that you had said something and I was like, I blank, the light bulb went back on, right? And then that was in when our son got his diagnosis of
Mm,
autism, there was a big shift in what we thought and
mm,
what we knew how we could parent, from how this child was going to need to be parented. And
yeah.
that was with a whole plethora of tool boxes that we didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
And thank goodness we've created them on our own sometimes, or just found so many tools along the way. But one thing that I learned that you might love and can share with others,
Mm,
and hopefully other listeners will just gain, is there was one point in which, with my eldest, um, I I grew up as an only child of
mm,
a military dad. There was a lot of yelling. I was a
mm.
yeller. That was how
Yeah.
things got done.
Hmm.
With this child, there was that was the last thing you
Yeah.
wanted to do, was yell. And there was
Mm,
a point in which I realized, oh, like, I have to change. How am I going to change? How the heck
mm,
am I going to learn how to respond differently in these
mm.
moments? And I decided to trigger myself. And so every time I wanted to yell, I would keep in the front of my mind, every time I want to yell, I have to yell, I want to yell right now. And I would yell that out. And
Yeah.
it only took a few weeks or a few times of me, and then it would sound ridiculous. And I'd be like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, okay, I have
Yeah.
starting to get this. And now it's been eight,
Because
nine
what you're
years. It's been
doing
so long,
is
kids.
feeling that initial sensation in your body.
Yes, not ignoring that I'm actually
Yes.
responding to something,
Hmm. Yeah.
but
And
choosing
think
to take it
about,
in another path. Yeah,
yeah, which is beautiful. And that's what we want to do is what's happening in your body. So you're going, I'm going to pay attention to when I want to
somatically.
yell.
Yeah.
So then you're feeling, okay, when is it that I want to yell? Well, hang on, I'm wanting to yell now. And when you think about that parenting that you were doing before, how did you get parented? Well, through yelling. So that's how we parent. And even when, I mean, I remember my mum was a screamer and shouter, and I still hate loud noises. And yet, guess what I became? Because I was so stressed, I was pushed to the edge, I was under so much tension.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what I did? I yelled and I shouted and I screamed. And it was horrible. And I remember doing it going, I hate who I am right now.
Yeah.
And it's okay. It was, and people out there will go, oh, you can't hate yourself. You know what? You can hate.
You
It's
can hate
there for a
them, your
reason. It's
moments.
as it is
Yeah.
there is an emotion for a reason, and it's a strong emotion for a reason. And I hated yelling. I still hate yelling. And I look at my son, and he was the same. He gets traumatized. My daughter's a shouter and a screamer. Oh, I wonder where she got that from, you know. And but she was the one who would push me to that.
Yeah.
And he would almost be cowering in the corner, and I'd have to go in and, do some reparation with him and then be, doing reparation with her. And it was just hard.
Mm.
And you're absolutely right. How did you learn that yelling was the way to fix it until this child came along to teach you differently?
Yeah,
Not how we
100%.
do things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There is a gentler way. And for you to be able to take that and to do the work
Yeah.
that actually allowed you to feel, okay, what is that thing that informs me when I'm about to yell? And how can I rechannel that into something different? That is magic.
Yeah. I
Absolute
agree.
magic.
And I hope other families and moms or dads that are listening, they can practice those things that
Mm,
trigger them and challenge them. Like, make it a challenge or a goal for
mm,
yourself, and give yourself the thing that works, that I need to remember: a
mm,
goal, a timeline, and accountability, so that
mm,
you can really set yourself like a measuring system if
mm,
you're making progress on these things, and or not. So
mm. I
hopefully.
think I think that self-reflection is a beautiful thing, and it's certainly been a big part of my healing, because the fact of the matter is, often, especially with pain, for example, once it's gone, you almost forget that you had it.
Yeah.
So I will have clients who come in and they'll go, I've got really bad headaches and I've got this and I've got that and I've got the other. And then, we do the session and then I see them a week or two later and I'll say, so how are the headaches? They're like, what headaches? Well, last time when you came, and that's why I take notes, is because it's like, well, hang on, you had these ailments. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, I forgot I was doing that. And so a lot of people aren't aware of what is changing. And so with especially behavioral things, because sometimes they can be really tricky to notice. So my example that I use is I remember I was making something in my Thermomix and I think I was making bread or something for the kids and I went to put whatever liquid it was in the top and I knocked it on the top of the machine instead of actually pouring it in. So, of course, it's gone everywhere. And I'm like, God, you're a, fill in the blanks, few little expletives. And I started laughing because I went, why are you abusing yourself with this language and these words when all you've done is try to rush things and not really be paying attention, not really being present? They were the two truths of the matter. Yeah. But what I did was I made it mean that I wasn't good enough, that I was flawed, that there was something wrong with me. I'm a this, I'm a that. And I started laughing because I realized when I started to think back how long ago it had been that used to be my normal and actually how far I'd come and how little I did it. And that's why it was so shocking and why I laughed, is because I realized how long it had been since I'd done it.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I went, yes, I notice a lot of my changes. But that self-reflection became a really big part because, like I say, I can go into a kinesiology session or a session with my hypnotherapist or whomever it is that I'm working with, and I may not feel massive shifts, especially at this stage of my journey where I've done so much work and unpacked so many things. You don't always get these massive, kind of moments where, angels sing and the lights come on and, cogs fit together and you get these massive ahas. They're beautiful when they happen, don't get me wrong. They are those quantum leaps in healing that you just go, oh my God, I've made such a progress today. But the things that have made the big difference are those little 1%ers, those sessions where I've walked out and gone, I don't think that did anything. And then 3, 4, 5 weeks later, maybe a couple of months later, I'll go, oh my God, I'm not doing that thing anymore. When did that start to change? And I'll look back. Oh, I'll remember something from that session when I'm looking through my diary and I'm going, that's what we worked on then. And so it's not always these big in-your-face ahas. And I think that's sometimes why people, hop off the path or stop doing the work, is because they're expecting, bells and whistles and angels singing every session that they have. And that's not the case. Yeah. And so the same thing that you've done there is when you notice those sensations in your body, when you are then in control of it, when you are responsible. If we flip that around, it's having the ability to respond. When we have the ability to respond to those emotions, when we are responsible for them, and when we feel them, acknowledge why they're there. For you, there was this bit of, I want to scream right now. There would have been something happening that made you want to scream right now, scream or yell. There would have, and so you'd be able to go, oh, I want to yell right now. Well, why do I want to yell? Oh, because of this. Yeah. Oh, okay, I get it now. And then you yell, you've got the discharge of emotion. Yeah. It's gone.
Yeah. And now those things never come up. Now I don't. The only times it's funny too, because my husband will often say, I normally just know what day of the month it is because you've yelled at the dog and you don't normally yell at anyone. So that's who bless the dog's heart. That's who I've reverted to yelling at. But he'll just always say, like, are you feeling, beware of how you're feeling this week, because I noticed that you just yelled at the dog, dear. So
but what a beautiful, loving, that's beautiful. And, my partner often tracks my cycle better than I do as well. He'll be like, you're emotional today. Yeah. And I'll be going, oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. One, it's so interesting too when um for us, it was a lot in figuring out there was always this tension and this he would always say, "Oh, you're like always repulsed by me and you never, something's wrong with me or something's wrong with me during that time period." And there was a lot of misunderstanding and we've
Yeah.
been together for almost 20 years. A lot of
Yeah.
misunderstanding in that. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until kind of far way out of our topic, but it wasn't
No.
until we both realized that we were both autistic also, and we were both on the spectrum, and that I was also having some sensory overload issues, and that it was affecting my touch, and that I was
Yes.
really, really affected by touch during that week. And he was finally able to realize that it wasn't about him. It wasn't this like repulsiveness or this like,
Yes.
disgust. It was like, I love you. I'm so in love with you all of the days. Even those
Mm.
days that I have to take that little purple pill, I still am there, but
Yeah.
it helped him to just really like stop. And I hate to say that he was pestering, but I felt like every single month I
Yeah.
knew there was going to be those 2 days where we were going to have to talk about it. And it was going to be the same discussion every single
Yeah.
time. But
Yeah.
it wasn't until we really was like understanding and graceful about our own body, like the needs that I was
Yeah.
actually going through, that it wasn't something psychological, it was
Yeah.
physiological. And
Yeah.
I could never express that to him
Yeah.
until I knew and I had something to say, pinpoint,
Yeah.
here it is.
Absolutely.
So what a
Yeah.
fascinating journey that was.
But
Yeah.
that's your body telling you, this is not the right thing for
Yeah.
me right now. And often we do take it personally when, it's somebody else telling us that, hang on, I don't like it when you do that because of, whatever. And also because it brings up our stuff as well. It brings up our stuff of, feeling unlovable or unworthy or not good enough or whatever it is. So we get activated. And then you've got two activated people.
Yeah.
And when you're both activated, you're in the wrong part of the brain to have a discussion about it. But when you can go into, a beautiful, safe place to, have those awarenesses, and when you respect and love each other enough to have that mutual desire for connection, that connection doesn't always need to be sexual. That connection can just be you comprehending what I'm going through right now.
Exactly.
And that is magical, because then when it comes to that, if he's, feeling overly, okay, what could I do? Or what could we do?
Yeah.
If you don't like that, what could we do? And then it leads into a whole other part of your relationship of exploration and that newness, which is so important. I remember my mother always used to say to me, relationships are hard work. And so I thought, in my past relationship, I was just getting an A+ because it was really hard.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I'm doing exactly what I was told I needed to do, which is have a hard relationship. And then I realized that it's a different type of hard. It is keeping that connection. It is being respectful. It is, even if you don't understand the other person, it's accepting where they're at and loving them regardless.
Yeah.
And working on that aspect. That's the hard part, because then we need to look at what is it bringing up in us? Why do I not like that in the other person when usually I love them?
Absolutely.
Why all of a sudden am I feeling, disconnected, out of touch, rejected, abandoned, whatever it is? And you can go, oh, actually, it's not them, it's me, it's my stuff.
Yeah. Exactly.
And if I can tell you what's going on for me, you don't need to understand it. You don't need to comprehend it. You just, if you can have enough love and grace to accept it and to love me in spite that, that's where the work is.
Yeah. A lot of beautiful work there too. I agree. It's been really fascinating too. I wish I've asked him to be a podcaster with me for so long now. because I know the value that people could gain from the lessons that we've learned together, and
Yes.
the fact that we've wanted to learn them together. I think that has
That
a
is
lot to be
such a
said with it.
gift.
We
Yeah.
when we were first together, we were friends for 6 to 8 months before we ever even thought about liking each
Yeah.
other outside of a friendship.
Mm.
Excuse me. And so it really created this trust with one another, um, that we were able to build on, for a
Yeah.
relationship. And we've been able to go back to that friendship and kind of revisit things if things come up in our
Yeah.
in our relationship.
Hey.
Well, hello.
Hey,
It
buddy.
is I know I did tell you 30 minutes. I'm going to need about 15 more minutes. Can you reset an alarm for me? You're being so good and patient.
Oh, that's
He's
amazing.
so sweet. Yeah,
He
he's
is.
been really good. He's had to wait for his preferred food item all day
Mm.
now today. So he's been
Wow, that's
really
very
good.
patient. That's
Very
amazing.
patient, and it's taken a long time to get here to this
Mm.
to 13, and being able to wait for hours at a time to get items. So
Yeah.
thank heavens, right? The work
But
we
again,
do.
what a gift. What a gift for you
Yeah.
to not just have this child who's taught you to be a better parent, but also to look at yourself differently.
Yeah.
And I think, we forget how much our children teach us often.
Yeah.
And then their job is to, evolve past us. That's the
Yeah.
whole point of
Oh,
evolution, is
isn't that
they
the
are
truth?
going to pass us. And
Yeah.
I look forward to that day when I see my children being resourceful and kind and empathic and compassionate and all of the things. I do just sit back in wonder and go, okay, there is hope for the world.
Yep.
There are
Isn't that the truth?
these are really good humans who care deeply. And it's not that my work is done, but I can't wait to see the time that they overtake me,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because I'll know then that I've done my job.
Right. And it's so true. And I was just
Mm,
saying in this last, I just had an interview this morning. We were talking about keeping your home in such a place that you your kids learn enough that they leave, but
mm,
that they love enough that they want to come back.
yeah.
I love that,
Mm,
like teach them to go and to be independent, but let their space that they have to return to be somewhere they do want to return to.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that that's so magical too, to
Oh,
have that set
definitely.
those relationships up. Well, I
Mm,
can't believe the time has just flown
I know it
by
has.
so quickly. It's been so nice getting to know you, and I hope we can stay in touch because
Yes,
we could
definitely,
have
of
some fascinating
course.
conversations, definitely.
Yeah. Look, I'm
Um,
always happy to come back and have a chat.
yes, please
Offline or
do.
on, by the
Please.
way.
Thank you. Tell us where we can find you and all of the, social medias and things like that.
My email address, not my email address, my web address is the easiest, which is amandakate.com.au. And that's got all of my social links. I think it's in the
Perfect.
top banner even. So, even
Love
if you
it.
just go to the website and don't have a look and click onto your favorite site, that'll do.
Hey, well, I'll be sure to connect with you at all of those places. So
Wonderful.
watch out
Same.
for inundated social media presence by
No,
Sarah.
it's fantastic. I love it. I love it. And thank you
Yay.
so much for the work you're bringing into the world. It is really, really important, especially right now. So,
Thank you
yeah, we
so much.
appreciate you too.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's nice to thank you for, when DJ comes in, and it's great that people understand that you can still have a be professional, and you can still
Mm,
be considerate, and do, business and things that you need to do
of
even when
course.
you're a special needs parent, and you can teach. It helps to teach others and helps to show others that those relationships we're building, these are the children and the people that are going to
Mm,
be in the future of our generations. And
yeah.
the best we can do, the better they'll have. And better to come,
Yeah.
right? So
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think it was
yay.
beautiful seeing him. So, and it's real. Let's face
Yeah.
it. It's
Thank
very
you.
real. And that's what we
Exactly.
need.
Like,
We
that's what we
need
need.
less of the polished and,
Yeah.
shiny and isn't everything wonderful and more of just real.
Yeah.
And it's not like he was being disturbing and, doing anything
He's
like
just
that.
the
He was
sweetest thing.
beautiful and polite. So
Yeah.
anyone who actually is only listening and not watching, he was absolutely lovely. And just had a beautiful little energy about him. So
Does.
yeah,
He
it was
does.
gorgeous.
Oh, thank you so, so much. Well, I'm
Lots of
just,
love.
yeah, lots of love to you as well. And I'm so glad. I can't wait to be in touch.
Yeah. Thank
Talk
you
to you
so
soon.
much. Bye.